Hello, Kickstarter Nation. This is AP Klosky with your second Tuesday update for Cold Steel Wardens role-playing in the Iron Age of comics. Today, I'd like to do something a little different. I want to give you a sense of how character creation is done. So, very briefly, I'm going to run through and generate a character for you in less than 10 minutes. Right now, I don't know exactly what character we're going to be doing. In fact, I have a series of slips right here with some classic comics characters. These are going to go into a pot, and we will pick randomly who we have. We'll start with Wolverine. Fold that up. We have Batman, of course. We have Green Arrow. Luke Cage, Power Man. Rorschach, Watchman, of course. And his compatriot, the Comedian. The Punisher, fitting. Daredevil. John Constantine, Hellblazer. Sadly, the book was switched around. Sadness. The Question. Blade, Vampire Hunter. And Spider-Man. Good way to end things. So I've taken all these guys. I'm going to put them in my grand copper pot here. And let us see randomly what you and I will be creating briefly. Let's pull out. We have, entirely randomly, The Question. We'll be taking a look at The Question as a level, or as a 0 XP Cold Steel Wardens character momentarily. Stay tuned.
Notice right now it's 9:15, so ideally by 9:25 we will have a fully fleshed out character. So here I have our character sheet pulled up, and we have The Question, Vic Sage. Right at the start, we're not going to worry about age, height, weight right now because those are kind of subsidiary details. We do want to start with our vitals right here, and our vitals we always start with 35 points in our vitals. So let's take a look. What would make Vic Sage tick? So obviously, intellect here, pretty important there. He's investigative reporter, so let's give him some pretty high awareness as well. These are two of our mental vitals. He's pretty quick, trained by Richard Dragon, Lady Shiva, so let's drop a 5 there. 3 is considered to be average, so 5s and 6s are pretty on the high end in these terms. Let's drop a 4 into psyche and nerve. That's his physical and mental resilience. That leaves us, let's see, that leaves us 25 points used. That leaves us another 10 to go between the 3 of these. So let's drop a 4 in his magnetism and then a 3 in force and accuracy. He's not really necessarily the strongest guy, nor is he someone who relies on ranged weapons, but he is fairly charismatic. So let's drop the 4 there. We have, as we mentioned, a 0 XP character, so this would represent him as he's just starting out, maybe at the start of Denny O'Neill's run with Zen and Violence. Next up, we have 85 points that we can spend between skills, masteries, and if we look on the next page, powers. Obviously, Vic Sage doesn't have powers, so we're not going to worry about those too much. So let's start with skills. Obviously, very skilled unarmed combatant in terms of martial arts, but not really one in terms of ranged or even melee weapons, so just very little there. I'm just gonna, each of these ratings represents 1 die, so a 6 is pretty nice to start out with. We also have a character who's very athletic and pretty stealthy to boot, so there's 20 of our 85 points right there. I'm just gonna mark that off to the side. Similarly, very investigative. These are our 5 investigative skills, our physical ones up here. So our investigative skills, well, let's drop 4 into notice. That's kind of a passive, did you happen to pick up on this detail type of perception. And then investigation, his ability to search through things to find clues, to find items. Research, obviously, as a reporter, that's kind of important for him. So we'll drop a 4 into there. Canvas, we see Vic Sage doing a fair amount of canvassing, going around to different groups to find information. Examination, however, not so much. Examination's that really, really close in, almost forensic style investigation, fingerprinting, ballistics analysis. Not really something that he does, but I am going to drop a 1 there just to show some passing familiarity with it. So there we have We have another 20 points dropped right there. Okay, so that's 40 gone. Let's take a look at the social skills. Persuasion, a little bit. How about 2? How about deception? Maybe a little more even than persuasion. Intimidation, well, we don't really see him intimidating anyone, so I'm just going to drop 1 skill there. However, we do have a character who's very intuitive, very aware of people attempting to lie and the like, so we'll put 5 dice there. Reputation, well, he's just starting out, so we'll drop 2 there. He's not really relying on his reputation so much, he's just kind of this hack reporter. Cultural knowledge, however, he's very familiar with Eastern religion and the like, and the arts, stuff going on, so that we'll put 3 dice there. Knowledge criminal, of course, very important for Vic Sage. Esoteric kind of refers to cults and metahuman abilities and all the weirdness that's out there. So he might have just a little bit of familiarity thanks to Richard Dragon, but we're only going to drop him a 1 there. Same with scientific. That's what he has Aristotle Rotor for. That's what he has Tot for. So Tot can take care of the science. Historical knowledge, that's your modern politics, so we'll drop 3 dice there as well. So we used 40 earlier, so here we have, well, there's 13 more, so that's 53. And here we have 7, 10, that's 12 more. So that's 65 right now. Whoops, a little too far. We never, obviously one of the big scenes we have from him is his driving his souped up VW Bug. Great scene in Justice League Unlimited, him running down parademons as Darkseid is invading. So let's drop 5 dice there. We don't really see him pilot anything, though, nor do we really see him doing any mechanical work or even vehicular combat. That's kind of out of his range, so I'm not even going to bother giving him skill points there. I'm going to leave those untrained. However, you know, something like lockpicking or picking pockets could really fit here, so I'm going to drop 3 dice there for a total of 8. So that's 20 here, plus the 40 up here is 60, 73 of our skill points are used. So 73, I'm just going to mark there, out of our total of 85. One thing we do get, though, for every 3 dice that we get in one of our skill ratings, we do get a specialty. So for athletics, how about something like climbing? And I'm going to put both of my dice in there. For stealth, I'm going to actually split it. I'm going to put 1 die into hide and 1 die into move silently. And for unarmed actually doesn't get specialties like the normal ones, like the normal skills, but you do instead get plus 2 dice on armed damage, which gives you a bonus, keeps those unarmed combatants really dangerous. I can also file in, okay, 3, 5, 3, 5, directly taking my vitals, and I would do this all the way down the line. And the vital is listed directly next to whatever skill it applies to. For notice, let's say detect ambush. 1 die. Investigation, search for clues. 1 die, or sorry, 2 dice. Let's do 2 dice. And research, obviously, how about news feeds? 1 dice. And canvas, we have 1 group, so how about canvas reporters? For 1 die. Oh, we have deception. How about some fast talk? That makes sense for a reporter to have. And intuition actually does not get any specialties. It's just that raw ability for you to discern the truth, to discern someone's intentions. For cultural, under knowledge, how about Eastern philosophy? That fits. 1 die there. Criminal, obviously, let's stick to Hub City. He knows all about the Hub City criminals there. And for historical, well, let's say, how about modern politics? 1 die there. Driving, pretty obvious. How about car for 1 dice? And fine manipulation, how about, let's go with lockpick for 1 die. Now, obviously we used a fair amount of our points on our skills. We have a very skill-based character, but we also have some room for masteries. We have 12 points for masteries. Each mastery costs 3 points, both in XP and character generation. So let's give him kickboxing to represent that Richard Dragon combat style, which gives us a bonus of plus 2 dice on unarmed and unarmed damage. Kickboxing, pretty dangerous. Let's give him a mastery as well called Ask the Question. This is a canvassing-based one, and we have a pretty high canvas. Yep, so we will fulfill the requisites for that. Ask the Question allows us to canvass 2 groups. If we do so, we to get a bonus on any investigative or social tests for the rest of the session. That's a pretty useful thing to have. Let's also give him Home Wrecker. This is a mastery that allows us half time for searching an area. You can go through people's stuff pretty quickly. And I tell you what, let's also he has that VW bug. Let's give him a vehicle. So that makes sense. Just by taking that mastery, he gets a free vehicle that's souped up. Every hero in Cold Steel Wardens has flaws, so we'll take a look at those. We obviously have someone who's very heroic, devoted to the truth. We could even take the truthful hindrance, which gives us -4 to all deception tests, and makes Vic will not lie to authority. If I wanted to, I could take some additional flaws to gain some more points over here, but I'm not going to do that right now. In fact, I'm going to move over to the back and take a look at my memories, motivations, and stances. And I'll move pretty quickly because I've used most of my 10 minutes. I'll go pretty fast. Memories, well, one of the first issues on Denny O'Neill's run, he gets shot. That's pretty important. But then he is also trained by Richard Dragon and Lady Shiva. Those are important memories on Vic's part. Motivation. These are goals that he has right now. So motivation-wise, obviously, we could talk a little bit about cleaning up the corruption in Hub City. Oops. But we could also talk about his willingness to assist his former girlfriend, the mayor of Hub City. Mayor Myra, of course, his former lover. So that would be a motivation. Stances, however, are kind of more philosophical concepts. These are all written as quotes, as in character statements. So for him, something like the truth must be revealed above all else. That's something that's fitting with the question. Beyond that, we see him, especially at the very start, at least until he gets his a relationship with the chief of police. He has a very negative view of the police force. So you might say the police are just as bad as the crooks they arrest. So that's something that he might say, some stance that he might hold. We don't really have a real need to take a look at equipment because he's not really that focused on equipment here. Last thing we have to do to make our character playable is, in fact, find our physical and mental strain thresholds. That represents how much punishment he can take physically and mentally. We look down here at our quick reference and we see, okay, 3 times nerve or 3 times psyche, and then we add 3. In both cases, we picked a value of 4 for this. So 3 times 4 is 12. We add 3 to get to 15 for each one. That represents how much strain he can possibly take. Now, 1/3 of that represents his breaking point. That's the point at which it's no longer a matter of brushing off an attack. It's not a matter of brushing off and swallowing your fear, but you are getting into dangerous injuries and psychosis when you hit that breaking point. And lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, we have Vic Sage. Oh, forgot one last thing. That's our derived stats. Our pace, 2 plus agility, that's 7, so he's a little quicker than average. Defensive value, nerve plus agility, that's 9, not too shabby. And then wealth and status is intellect of 6 plus reputation of 2 for 8. Lo and behold, we have the question in Cold Steel Wardens, role-playing in the Iron Age of comics.